Penguin Random House Audio presents What You're Made For. Powerful Life Lessons from My Career in Sports by George Raveling and Ryan Holiday. Foreword by Michael Jordan. Read for you by J.D. Jackson. This book is dedicated to my wife, Dolores Akins, my son, Mark, my daughter, Letitia, and to Kamadi Ramsey. Foreword. George Raveling is an unsung hero in my life. Our relationship goes back 40 years, and he's truly been a mentor and a friend to me since our paths first crossed. I met George when I was 21 years old, when he was an assistant coach for the Olympic men's basketball team, and I was a skinny junior at the University of North Carolina, about to turn pro and trying out for the team that would compete at the 1984 Olympic Games in Los Angeles. George was a bridge between us players and Coach Bobby Knight. Right away, George was a comfort, a coach who knew how to relate to players and knew the game of basketball inside and out. He smoothed the path for my Olympic teammates on our way to a gold medal. George was the glue that held the team together, and he doesn't get the credit he deserves. Then there's the origin of my partnership with Nike. There are all kinds of stories out there, but George is truly the reason I signed with Nike. As I've said before, I was all in for Adidas. George preached for Nike, and I listened, reluctantly at first. George is the one who convinced me to take what is now an infamous meeting at Tony Roma's in Los Angeles, and, well, the rest is history. My relationship with George is what made me feel comfortable signing with Nike. If not for George, there would be no Air Jordan. In just 3 months, George was there for 2 life-changing moments for me: winning my first Olympic gold and signing my first shoe deal with Nike. Over the years, while I was playing in the NBA, I stayed in close touch with George. He not only made a tremendous impact on me as a coach with his knowledge of the game, but also with his ability to listen and be a good sounding board. I've gotten a lot of great, important advice from George. When I started my Michael Jordan Flight School basketball camp, which we held in Santa Barbara for years, George was the obvious choice for me to bring on board as the director. He wouldn't sign on until he was sure we'd be doing the camp the right way, and that I would be there every day. Later, we did a camp for adults, senior flight school, and George was instrumental in making that a success, too. What an amazing life George has led, and what a role model he is. As the first black coach in the ACC, the first black head coach in the then Pac-8, and a founder of the Black Coaches Association, George paved the way and, again, does not get the credit that I feel he deserves. He's been so influential to so many, including me, and seen the best and worst of this world during his incredible life. I'm proud to call George a mentor and a friend, and I'm glad he's telling his story and sharing his life lessons. We can all learn from him. Michael Jordan. Introduction. Often, a very old man has no other proof of his long life than his age. Seneca. In 1937, the year I was born, the life expectancy of a black male was just 48 years. It was a world of stark contrasts, of groundbreaking innovation and entrenched inequality. As I took my first breath, a 35-year-old cartoonist named Walt Disney was releasing Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the world's first full-length animated feature film. Across the Atlantic, a terrible war was breaking out, and Pablo Picasso was putting the finishing touches on his haunting, heartbreaking anti-war mural, Guernica. In sports, Joe Louis, the Brown Bomber, became the heavyweight champion of the world. one of the few victories in an age of setbacks for Black people. The Golden Gate Bridge had just opened, a marvel of engineering towering over the San Francisco skyline. Meanwhile, inventors were shaping the future. Chester Carlson was pioneering the photocopier, Laszlo Biro was perfecting the ballpoint pen, Edwin H. Land was laying the foundation for the Polaroid camera, and Henry W. Altorfer had just invented and patented the electric clothes dryer, an advancement that would replace hand crank dryers and forever change the rhythm of household chores. But for African Americans, it was a world of segregation and discrimination. The odds were stacked against a kid like me from day one. We faced systemic barriers in every aspect of life: education, employment, housing, healthcare, voting. We lived apart. We were made to use different facilities. We were denied basic rights and dignities. The bleak stage was set. A life of poverty, hardship, and struggle, one cut short by the harsh realities of racism and inequality. Not that I was thinking about any of this as a child, but it was in the air. The hushed whispers and somber faces delivering news of what happened to a neighbor or some extended family member. So were the air raid sirens, blackout curtains, and duck and cover drills at school, daily reminders of a world at war. The echoes of the tolling church bells, the beautiful funeral hymns, and the slow-moving processions. The well-dressed men and women dignified despite it all, artistic flourishes on a life that was fleeting, cruel, over in an instant. The dark shadow of mortality had always loomed large, but when I was 9, it came right up to our doorstep. My dad, a man of his era, confined by the societal and racial constraints that defined our existence, died of a heart attack when he was 49 years old. A tragically ordinary fate for Black men in those days. He had worked hard to support us. He was a groom for wealthy horse owners, often sleeping in the stables among the horses he tended because he couldn't afford to commute to and from the track every day. His passing marked the first time I truly understood the fragility of life, the suddenness of it. The way a life so central to mine could be extinguished in an instant haunted me. It was a lesson in mortality that would stay with me, shaping how I viewed every subsequent challenge. It was then just my mom and me in a small apartment at the corner of New Jersey and Florida Avenues in Washington, D.C., above a store called Shep's Market. On the second floor, there were 3 apartments. We had a kitchen, a little living room, and 1 bedroom with a bed we both slept in. Everyone in the building shared 1 bathroom with a bathtub, sink, and toilet. We had to figure out how to share it, but we managed. In those days, Washington, D.C. was 73% Black. That's how it eventually got the nickname Chocolate City. Most of these folks had fled the even harsher conditions of the Deep South, seeking a better life. In the nation's capital, they could make a decent living in the shadows of institutions like the White House and the Capitol, providing the cheap yet indispensable labor that kept the governmental machinery running. The irony, we were integral to the city's functioning, yet marginal in its society. The vibrancy of the neighborhood was a sharp contrast to the stark inequalities that defined our daily existence. Yet within it there was an undeniable sense of community, a shared struggle that bound us together, even as we navigated the harsh realities of segregation. My mom, like many others, juggled 3 jobs to make ends meet. She would walk 4 miles to get downtown, and her parting words to me each day, "Don't you leave this building," were not just instructions, but a plea for safety in a world that was not kind to little Black boys.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?